Almost said evening. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mike Asherbrander, the proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community, and you are rolling with the Hounds of Business with Mike King Biz Radio on ESPN 106.1 FM RVA. If you're tuning into the live stream, thank you so much. I'm so excited about this guest. Amazing person, a testament to resilience and inner strength and growth. And the organization that she founded from her experience is absolutely amazing. Definitely want to make sure that we cover all the bases in this 30 minutes so folks can tap into it. There's a lot going on here, not just the nonprofit side, but the business side of complying with laws and things like this. So we're going to have a blast. Thank you for the Hounds for showing up. Friends of the Hounds, man, you're amazing. Appreciate you. And hey, without further ado, let me find the button. Roll the. I'm gonna roll our video. I'm gonna roll that one again because anybody out there who's trying to build a business to realize your dream or scale up, maybe you're a professional working in a corporation, or maybe you're starting a business or trying to scale up to the next 5 million, right? We have a spot for you in the Hounds, right? Profitable reciprocity, no pitch slapping. Test drive it. Check us out, see if it's a good fit for you. If not, hey, you might know somebody who it would be a blessing to. So let's get this party started and see you in a minute.
In a bit of a pickle. Don't you worry about a thing. You ain't alone in this. You're just a success story waiting to happen. Trust me on that. Every bump in the road is just an opportunity wearing a clever disguise. Welcome to the Hounds of Business community, where we don't just sit around twiddling our thumbs. Nope. We turn those obstacles into mighty fine stepping stones. This here's a place where high-level entrepreneurs and sharp professionals gather to grow their businesses and mindsets, kind of like how a good old gumbo needs the right ingredients to be something special. Ideas thrive here, and collaborations? Well, they're as natural as sweet tea on a hot day. Success? It's a journey, and we're fixing to walk that road right beside you. Now, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest tips and insights. We're talking about the kind of wisdom that'll keep you ahead of the game. And while you're at it, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got ourselves a treasure trove of videos, from expert interviews to webinars, everything you need to stay sharp in this fast-moving world of business. The Hounds of Business community? Well, we ain't just a network, we're a movement. So why not come on and be part of something bigger? Join us today and let's turn your business journey into a real Southern success story. Together, we'll achieve greatness, just like crawfish and singing on a Friday night.
Yeah, crawfish and singing on a Friday night. Again, thank you guys for showing up. Thanks for everyone in Richmond and all the folks on the live stream today. I'm here with the one and only Agape Garcia. How are you today?
Wow, I am good. Thank you for having me here. What an honor.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You have been all over the place, and we had just met not even a month ago. I think it was through the great Tanya Eberhardt with Brandface. She referred you to us. You came to our Hounds group call, and within 5 days, right, Dr. Constance Leland of Level Up Academy, you're connecting. She's helping, serving on the board, and your gala had just been last week. So it's amazing progress. You are absolutely a testament to getting things done and just making an impact in this world and not taking no for an answer. So speaking real quick, hey folks, you know me, I gotta act silly. If you can't see when I'm holding my hand on the radio, I earned this big time. I never leave the house anymore. So I went out to vote today because I'm old and I don't, I'm like Tuesday, you're supposed to go out and be inconvenienced, right? No early voting for me. And so I went out and did this. I had to fill out a encyclopedia full of stuff. My registration didn't go through, blah, blah, but I did it. I made it. So hopefully you had a better experience than I did going out to vote today, or you did it smarter and did it early. So anyway, just wanted to make sure everybody saw that silliness. Let's start with you because you started two things. You have a business and you have a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is Confronting Domestic Violence. Can you share a bit of your personal story for folks that what led you to found this organization?
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to express how confronting domestic violence was born. It was actually born from the ICU. I recently was in a life threatening car accident and I wasn't sure why I was being spared. I had a 1% chance of surviving, and I continuously petitioned and petitioned and petitioned, what is my purpose? Because I couldn't even feed myself. I had no idea what my quality of life was going to be and what direction I was heading. And I just couldn't understand what predicament I was really in and what the reality of what it was going to be truly was. And many minutes of staring at the ceiling, at the lights, petitioning my purpose, it came to me, I don't know when, I just know where, and that was again from the ICU, that I am to deliver my story of post-traumatic growth, my survival of a double attempted homicide while 1,000 miles away from home, 8 months pregnant with an 8-year-old daughter, and the uncharted waters that needed to be navigated through in this journey of survival, of devastation, of trauma. You know, post traumatic growth is something that's really not shared or taught. And it's something that a lot of us actually have within. And from having a 1% chance of surviving a major car accident to walking in my purpose today is what I am and what I'm all about. And this is the heartbeat of confronting domestic violence, and the support and the mission and the people on the board is what is just allowing this to blossom and bloom and be carried out into the community. And I just cannot thank you enough for what these connections really do and how they truly work. I've been off social media all my life. I never even had MySpace. So I knew that when I needed to come out with a business, nonprofit, for profit, anything, I needed visibility. And that was my biggest fear, because protection, privacy, how can you be vulnerable and safe at the same time? How can you have privacy and security at the same time? These are things I had to figure out and what I like to now share.
Oh, tons of yeah, Lewis, Stickley, I love having you in the house. He says, "Wow, what an amazing story." Absolutely, because gosh, when you live in a situation like that for so long, right? A lot of us have esteem and self-worth issues and all that anyway, just from basic childhood, right? So when you compound that with so much healing and inner work, it's really remarkable to think about how much you had to overcome. And then even through that, you basically relive this because you care about people so much and you know what folks are going through, how hard it is for them to get out of those situations. And you voluntarily put yourself out here to be a beacon, right? So, hey, I'm worried about my own safety and well-being, but I'm out here doing it anyway to help others because lives are literally on the line, right? Like this is not a game, man. Sometimes, and we'll talk about this, but I mean, I've seen this in my own experience. I've seen that, where women would leave with a child with a trash bag. Like, where are they going to turn? This is very, very serious issue, and you don't hear much about it anymore, right? I don't hear much about it. There's so many issues going on, so I'm really, I want folks to know, listening out there, like, hey, this is somebody who just got sick and tired of being sick and tired, who just said, hey, I'm going to go out there and figure this out as I go, right? And it's happening, right? And I'm not taking all the credit, but that's what the Hounds does. Hey, there's something special here. There's a good, let's go connect them with the people and the who that can make things happen, right? And it's moving fast. And then what do? You respond by bringing us great folks so they can tap in and get the same benefit that you did. And this is profitable reciprocity. It doesn't always have to equal money, but it usually does, right? So, on that note, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face starting confronting domestic violence? And folks on the radio, you can go to confronting DV. So D as in domestic, V as in violence, confrontingdv.org. And you can catch all of this. There's resources out here on this website. It's fantastic. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in really starting this?
Sure. I mean, the biggest challenge was learning the online world that I avoided all my life. That really truly is a total different world. I avoided it because I convinced myself that social media was advertising who you are, which it is, what you look like, which it is, where you're at, which it does. And that was everything I needed to keep private for my own safety, for my children's safety. So I had to sacrifice and stunt my own growth for the sake of privacy and protection. And I don't regret it. I'm just sharing that that was my biggest challenge, was avoiding it for so long for personal purposeful reasons, and then saying, "Oh my gosh, my life was spared because I need to do this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the dark. Where do I go? I don't,
Right.
please light the path before me so I can take the steps that I need to take." And I really have just been walking in faith ever since, that came to me. And people like the Hounds of Business, people that are, true to the mission, that are true to their testimony and their lives, that either they've been through it or they know somebody that's been through it, and they know the struggle, and they say, oh my gosh, this is a real need that needs to be addressed. And we all know we cannot conquer what we do not confront. So this is what we're coming together to do, and it's happening, and I can't believe the way it's happening. I still am afraid of social media. I really, it's so much to learn. I feel like I'm lost in the sea as a grain of sand. But I really appreciate the support and the connections, and where I feel safe to be able to even express this.
Exactly. The courage before confidence. That's what I hear from your whole story, and that's what we always shout out in the Hounds, right? Courage before confidence. Like, you know, it's scary. There's a million reasons not to do this, to quit, not to pursue, this mission, uh, to do all the things you do, but you have to, and you're willing to, because you're not putting yourself. You're doing what it takes. You can relate to the folks going through this. It's horrible. And so going to the day to day, because I want to make sure I'm clear on this. Go into the day to day. What are some of the things that drive you forward that people still face? So someone's in a domestic violence. It could be physical, mental, whatever kind of abuse they're facing. What are some of the things that keep them stuck or keep them from seeking assistance? Right? Because people say, "Well, just get out," but it's not that simple, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple answers to that. So number one, fear and finances is what typically keeps people in a space of confusion and blankets of self-doubt, because you're not sure if you can make it on your own. You're not sure what life is going to look like by yourself. You're not sure if you're going to be able to handle life by yourself. You're not sure if you're going to be able to, deal with all the responsibilities independently. There is a lot of fear and doubts and finances that can really, really hold somebody back from making that decision. And so, what drives me on a daily basis is the phone calls that I receive, right? So, let me be very clear on what our mission at Confronting Domestic Violence is. Our mission is to provide real time resources to real time victims and offer relocation services when a family has a safe place to go, but not the means to get there. So, what that means is I can get 6 to 10 phone calls a day, and I'm dealing with a real time victim who could be, in a panic mode. And, I've literally picked up the phone, and there's been, a woman in the woods just screaming and crying on the top of her lungs, almost hyperventilating, because she is at her wits' end and she just doesn't know what to do and where to go, because most of us don't know what to do or where to go until we're in that predicament. So what I do is I listen. I let them get it all out, and I'm assessing what they're saying while they're sharing their situation. And then I simply ask very specific questions. What are your immediate needs right now? What is it that you need to get to the next step right now? And once we're able to get the emotions a bit calmer and we can get our logic a bit clearer, we're able to then identify what are those real time needs. And if I cannot offer any of those real time needs at that moment, I am definitely looking through the list of resources that I have based on partnerships and collaborations that I've built with other organizations that I know will answer the phone on the other line, will respond to an email on the other end, and that are being funded and are open and operating. Because I know that it took me over 800 phone calls before I got to somebody. And I am trying to prevent that.
Wow. You
Yes.
800 phone calls to get assistance from this is that how that's how hard it is? So
That's
even if
how hard it
somebody
is.
gets to the point where they have the courage to at least attempt to get help, then it could take hundreds of calls before they even get anybody to wow, that is mind blowing. That hang on real quick, folks. You're watching the Hounds of Business presents Mike King Biz Radio, 106.1 FM RVA. My name is Mike Asherbrenner, the proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business, and you are here with Agape Garcia with Confronting Domestic Violence, confrontingdv.org. And she is talking about her experience, but also how she helps folks who are ready to reach out. And Agape, thank you for sharing the mission of and the vision of the Confronting DV. On that note, because it is it's such a hard thing for folks going through. I mean, some of them are years or decades, right, being victims in this situation. And people say, well, they could get out, but it's not so easy. We all have problems. And here's what I think is remarkable. You've experienced this, so people are likely to reach out to you than they would some therapist or some organization that maybe don't have that experience. You find that to be the case where people are like, hey, I can't open up to her because she knows, like, she's experienced this. Is that kind of how you're picking up so much momentum today?
I will say in confidence, absolutely, because I have been through so many of those stages and on the other end for so long because I didn't go back home. I was high risk. I was 8 months pregnant and I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I figured stuff
Mm.
out from ground zero by myself.
Wow. Yeah, and that's that and so you have great empathy. You're like, "Hey, there's so many people struggling through this." Not just the people, men or women in this, uh, situation of domestic violence, but also the kids and the family members who are also affected. So it really does affect a lot. And we're gonna get into this because this is not just a nonprofit. You have a business that helps other companies, right, implement these things that are by law in some states. So we're gonna get into that. But before we move on to that, let's cover, because I want to make sure people know this. People don't advertise this. They're not, hey, I'm going through domestic violence. This is something people keep to themselves for good reason, right? We understand why. So if you out there listening know somebody who may be right, and this is resources you can send to them. So go to confrontingdv.org. All right, that's the website to go to. So what are some of the key services and resources that your organization provides for domestic violence victims?
Right. So beyond the real time resources by connecting with the programs that are currently funded and operating, as mentioned, if they are in a situation where they have a safe place to go but not the means to get there, then that's where we step in and bridge those gaps. So meaning we help with a safe escape plan because movers will be coming. That is the riskiest, most dangerous time for a victim slash survivor is when their abuser knows that they're getting ready to leave. And why? Because the abuser knows that their power and authority is being revoked. And so it is very important that you plan smartly and intently for the actual move. So I don't want to get into too much detail on how I go
Right.
about that because
No,
that
that's
is
okay.
for that is yeah, that's a part of the program that actually helps people escape safely. I will tell you that a duly appointed officer in the community is asked to stand on premise to avoid conflict and reduce any further victimization. The major goal here is to prevent the cycle of return. Everybody, if you don't know, the age of a child's brain is 90% developed by kindergarten. So what they're seeing and what they're hearing is the foundation of emotional intelligence, foundation of security, foundation of love that you are, providing. So just for a little bit of nerdy statistics, 1 in 15 children are exposed to domestic violence and 90% of them are eyewitnesses. So, one of the most important things to keep in mind is that, when a child feels safe at home, they're able to excel, learn, and have a healthy future.
Yeah, again, a lot of people I know, right? I know I say a lot, but like a handful, too many. One's too many who have lived through this and went through this. And this is a very important thing, man. This is folks who could have a good future don't because they're in these kids, right? And this is why. So when a spouse or a person, because it's not always just women, when they have the courage to say, "Hey, I need help," you guys aren't developing this as you go. You already have a system that knows how to implement and help people and guide them. This is what's impressive to me. There's lots of services out there, but I view you guys as the hub. Like, hey, if you're going to start somewhere, start here, right? Because if there's other resources, you will plug them into it. But a lot of
That's
other
right.
resources out there don't have the aspects that you guys bring to the table. And so it's not the one's better than the other. It's just, hey, we're equipped to handle somebody who says, I'm scared to death with good reason. Help me. Yeah, okay, we get it. Like we know. All right, this is step one, step two. So let me ask you real quick because I want to get into the business aspect of how you help businesses implement some of these bills that, compliance with these. But real quick, either share a story about, in general, obviously no names, but share a story if how this helped change a life, and also what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing uh, in the fight against domestic violence.
So, I'll be bluntly honest with the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is when you have someone on the other line that needs help and you're offering the help and the guidance on the steps that unfortunately sometimes are needed in order to get to that next level. And sometimes the person isn't willing to take those steps, and that becomes heartbreaking because it's the steps that are needed to get them to what their real time need is, or that next real time need. And if they're unwilling to do it, they're going to be faced with additional struggles and challenges. And I cannot convince or force anybody to do something. All I can do is offer and provide suggestions, and it's really up to the individual to carry out. And on top of that, I just want to say that nobody knows you better than you. And when it's your time, you just have to know that it's your time. And for me, on the other side, where I'm like this passionate individual that just really wants to help, I have to give them that space to walk that path and know when it's their time. I'm planting the seeds. If they don't take them at the moment, they'll have it in mind and they'll use them when it's time for them. And that is what makes me feel good and fills my cup, and I know that I'm at peace with what I'm able to offer and provide these people that are calling in.
Absolutely. Again, you speak from the heart that you're doing this because it needs to be done, and that's what I love about it. That's what we were doing. We're doers in the pack, right? We just see, hey, this needs to be done. No one else seems to be doing it, or I can do something special, right, to help this. And that's what it's all about. So let's switch gears because if you can't see it on the radio, you can go to YouTube, Hounds of Business on YouTube, watch this. I pulled up the website, confrontingdv.org, confrontingdomesticviolence.org, and there's all kinds of resources, library, books, media for folks to tap into. So let's switch gears because and you explain because I don't know all the ins and outs, but now there's a SB something other, right? And everybody in California, all businesses have to comply. So explain what that is because your business, switching gears, it helps that. So not the nonprofit, but you as the business person are helping companies be compliant with this. Explain that to us and tell us how people can plug in and companies and business owners can call you so they can get help with this.
Oh, yes, with pleasure. So I actually had to remove my vision statement from the Confronting Domestic Violence website because the vision became a reality one morning when I woke up. I couldn't believe it. It
Wow.
was, yeah, I still can't believe it. This is how I know that this is all meant to be. SB 553 is a Senate bill. It's a legislative bill that recently passed in the state of California. It's a workplace violence prevention plan. Domestic violence spillover is a part of this plan. There are 13 elements. There are over 30 musts. There are a lot of, sub plans and procedures that are embedded within it. It is not a very clear cut, straightforward bill with these requirements on how you're going to implement, your actual written plan. And beyond the written plan, there is actual training. And the actual training in my book should be 3 levels, because you are responsible. One of the mandates is responsible for reporting, right? So what are you going to report if you don't know what to look for, if you don't know what human behaviors to be able to identify, if you're not paying attention to those around you that are either showing up a certain way or not showing up a certain way, or talking amongst their peers, you can report this. you're supposed to report this. Then that next level of training is the managers and the people who are receiving these reports, right? There is a follow up, there is an investigation, there is a closeout, there is a process for that. On top of, the forms that are required for tracking all of these things. And then you have your responders, right? And your decision makers. Who's going to respond to an actual, incident or something that's happening real time? Who's going to make a decision to evacuate, to shelter in place, to go into lockdown? You have to have many things in place for the plan to be effective. And so what I'm doing that's outside of, what I see my competitors doing, which by the way, I think I've interviewed almost all of them, you know, nobody's really focusing on the domestic violence spillover portion of it. They're more so focusing on, let's be compliant, dot our I's and cross our T's. Well, listen, in my previous life, I was a compliance officer, a single point of contact for regulatory agencies under the biotech pharmaceutical industry. I've dealt with DEA, FDA, USDA, ALAC, and all kinds of stuff. So I know how to satisfy auditors. I know how to be audit ready. That's a given there. I also had my own physical security company in the private sector, so I'm familiar with training, rollout, CCTV, access control, protection of critical infrastructure. I work directly with internal affairs as a mayoral appointee. uh, I've volunteered for Cal legislation for over 10 years, primarily focusing on public safety and privacy. So when I saw this bill, I said, oh my gosh, they wrote my life. I understand this so clearly. I am actually in touch with the Department of Industrial Relations on a weekly basis to talk about gaps and, discrepancies that I see with their, template, oversights or, overviews of things. And so what I'm doing is I'm helping organizations really understand the ins and outs of what to look for as it relates to the ability to prevent, mitigate, and respond to domestic violence in the workplace. Again, the statistics: 1 out of 3 women, 1 out of 4 men. If you have 300 employees, 100 of them are going through something. There are programs in place that offer assistance for mental health, gambling, porn, alcohol. It's time that we get vendors and resources in there for domestic violence as well. I'm actually talking with risk managers, workman's comp. I mean, I'm looking at the back door of how to get in and really truly help organizations meet the requirements, increase their culture, and just retain their employees because they feel like a healthy community and they know that they can share and receive.
Yeah, well said. And Juliana, thank you for joining us. Yeah, she said, stumbled upon this by chance and wishing you all the best on your mission. We all are. It's it impacts us all, and it's horrible. So thank you for being you. Thank you for having, whatever it is that to heal, to go through all the horrible, work it took to get here, and so you can help others. This can't be easy. So we support you. Go to confrontingdv.org. Make sure you plug in. There's all kinds of way to help. And also, if you're in California, right, SB 553, right, don't do it alone because to me, and this is just me, it sounds like a liability nightmare. If you're a small company and your HR department at large, it sounds like, oh my goodness gracious. So a little bit of prevention really can help a whole lot of future regret nonsense in a business. So go check it. What's the best way for folks to reach out to you for the domestic violence organization or your service in helping implement this bill so companies don't get crushed? Where's the best way to find you?
Yes, that would be at contactagape.com. And please, for all, business owners, your most important assets are your people. They're the ones that's making your company run. They are your most important
Absolutely.
assets. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have to end on this. People say, "I wanna help companies," and I think it was Scott Heathman, right, from Elevating Others LLC. He said, "Well, what are companies made of? People," right? If you
That's
help your
right.
people and you get them happy, healthy, and you know how to navigate, it's gonna increase culture. So, we appreciate everybody. We gotta run. We got the next one. Special time next week. We're gonna have the awesome Christine Bell, business strategist on, a great friend of mine, really help accelerate the Hounds. So, thank you, Agape, for joining us. Everybody go out there and be a part of the solution. Fight against domestic violence. We will see you again. Appreciate you and what you do. You're an outstanding individual. Love having you in the house.
Thank you.
All right. Now it's time to wave. Let's go. Be good. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.